Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Hamid and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is our first lecture from GI series, and in this lecture we will talk about ventral body wall defects. This topic is very important for the med school exams and also for the preparation of USMLE because they ask a lot of questions from this particular topic. And a lot of students get confused because of of the similarities between different topics. So I'm here to make it easy for you. There are two main ventral body wall defects. The first is gastroschisis and the second is omphalocele. First, we will talk about gastroschisis. What is gastroschisis? What is the pathophysiology of gastroschisis? It is a full thickness abdominal wall defect. In this condition, there is an extrusion of abdominal contents through the abdominal wall defect. There is an evisceration of abdominal contents through the abdominal wall defect. And this defect is usually on the right of the umbilicus or right of the midline. It is not through the umbilicus. You can see the arrow. This is umbilicus. And this defect in the picture A, you can see this defect is on the right of midline. Okay. And there is evisceration of abdominal contents through the abdominal wall defect. One very important thing in this defect is that the abdominal contents, are not covered with peritoneum or amnion. Okay, the eviscerated bowel is not covered by any membrane. Okay, and this condition is not associated with any chromosome abnormalities. If a newborn is presented with gastroschisis, we would not think about trisomy 13 or trisomy 18 or Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, any of these conditions, because gastroschisis is not associated with other chromosome abnormalities. Due to this reason, it has a good prognosis. Okay. In contrast to gastroschisis in omphalocele, there is an extrusion of abdominal contents through the umbilicus. You can see through the umbilicus. Okay. It is This defect is through the midline, not through the right of the midline or not through the right of the umbilicus. Omphalocele is herniation of abdominal contents through the umbilicus. You can see in picture B, the defect is through the umbilicus. Okay, and the abdominal contents, whether it is intestine or any other organs of the abdomen, these all eviscerated abdominal contents are covered by peritoneum or amnion. Okay. This particular defect, omphalocele, is associated with congenital abnormalities like trisomy 13, which is also called Pato syndrome, trisomy 18, also called Edwards syndrome or Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, or cardiac or genitourinary or neural tube defects. Okay. I hope this is now clear. One very important thing is in omphalocele, the contents are covered by peritoneum or amnion, but not covered by the skin or fascia or muscle. Okay. Now let's talk about congenital umbilical hernia. What is congenital umbilical hernia? And a lot of students get confused between omphalocele and congenital umbilical hernia. The pathophysiology of congenital umbilical hernia is incomplete closure of umbilical ring. Normally, normally there is, during pregnancy, there is herniation of midgut, physiologic herniation of midgut, which gets resolved in the late pregnancy. And then umbilical ring closes and it forms linea alba, a midline band of fibrous tissue. But if the umbilical ring fails to close, it results in congenital umbilical hernia. The abdominal contents come out through the umbilical ring, through that abdominal wall defect. And these abdominal contents, are usually covered by skin. not by the peritoneum or amnion. Okay, this congenital umbilical hernia is associated with two very important congenital disorders. First is Down syndrome, and second is congenital hypothyroidism. And they test a lot. This topic is very common. They test you a lot on congenital umbilical hernia associated with congenital hypothyroidism. Important thing to remember is congenital umbilical hernia usually resolves spontaneously. There is no surgery, there is no need to do any surgery. It gets resolved spontaneously, usually by the age of 2. If it does not get resolved, then we usually go for surgery in the age of 5 or 6. Okay. This is all about today's lecture, and in the next lecture we will talk about alpha fetoprotein, which is which is also very very important. So stay connected to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.